questions here, email questions. I got another one here. Globetrotter Mike, he was talking, asking about batteries, and I get this one a lot too. How big of a battery do I need? Because he likes to run he's got an FT891. You can get a 12 volt, 18 amp hour lithium battery for $140 Canadian, or a 12 volt, 30 amp hour lithium batteries for $300 Canadian. Do you think that the 18 amp hour will run the FT891? Can I run it full power, or should I go with the bigger battery?
Yeah.
And that is a really good question. And it's the one thing he said he's primarily going to do voice phone work, which is good because phone single sideband is not a full duty cycle mode. So at the peak, because you don't have a carrier, you only have one of the two sidebands. So at the peak, you are probably going to only be at 100 watts. You're probably only going to be like at 80% of the power level of the transmitter, and
right.
That you can kind of, depending on if you're running the processor, the compressor or whatnot, you can kind of edge that up a little bit more. But you're probably going to stay underneath, a full key down 100 watts. FT891 is going to pull 21 amps. That's about, power output and overhead. So with sideband 100 watts, you're probably going to be pulling, 17, 18 amps. Your 18 amp hour battery, the BMS will cover that.
At peak.
Yeah. Your average duty cycle, your average power is probably going to be more on the line of, 10 or 8, 8 or 10 amp draw. So you can probably, so that 18 amp hour battery at 100 watts is probably going to give you about 2 hours of life. Give or take.
I've used 15-hour lithium iron phosphate, and I've gotten probably 3 hours, depending if you're parking and barking, if you're hunting. That plays a key into it too. 18 hours, if you just want to go out for an afternoon, make a couple hours for the contacts, perfect. Absolutely fine. That's not going to be a problem. If you're going to do a weekend, I would say, think of something a little bit bigger.
Either a bigger battery or a way to charge it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, 30. I mean, if you can get 30, that's great. I run a 50 now. I ran a 54 winter field day. And I never had to charge that all weekend. And I was running, what was I running? I was, you
were doing PSK.
PSK, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a full duty cycle mode. But that 50 lasted all weekend.
Yeah.
So I would say, 18 is great for just voice for a Saturday afternoon. 50 if you want to do a weekend, 100 if you're, Michael Martins.
I take my 20 amp hour battery for an afternoon activation, and I run 50 watts. I'll get about 5 hours out of it. I'll get about 5 hours. Even if I run for about 2.5, I bring it home, throw it on the charger. I've only used about 12 amp hours. So So that's what I kind of estimate. When I go out for the weekend, I'll throw the 50 in the back of the car. Then I don't worry about it because I'm not going to be charging it up when it's done. I'm done pretty much.
Yeah. And I would say if Globetrotter goes down to 75, 80 watts, you're really not going to see much of a difference. In even 50 watts, you're making 200 contacts in an afternoon on 50 watts, Michael.
Yep.
Which is just silly. So you don't even need to run 75. Turn it down to 50, double your time on the battery, and have fun.
I think it's because it's only a 3 dB difference, so that's not even half an F. That's a half an S unit. Right. So you gain more through battery conservation than you lose in power output ability. Yeah.
Power
So
output ability. Is that a scientific term, Michael?
it's, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know what would be the technical term,
I would say gain or total coverage area, whatever you want to call
coverage,
it. Yeah. Just
yeah,
reduce your power by 50%.
duty cycle. So
More QSOs per mile. We'll just
yeah,
say that.
Eric there, he crushed a 250 amp hour during the Hawaii QSO party.
Oh,
Well,
but he had laptops and
he
everything
had the
else running.
laptops
Yeah.
running. Yeah. So when Dave and I did the Wisconsin QSO party, and I had the 100 in the back of the truck for
Mhm.
both of us. We made, I don't know how many he made, 400 contacts. I made about 700. He made about 375. We made about 700. We had just over 1,000 contacts for that 7-hour event. When I put it back onto the charger, it was at about 40% capacity yet. So I only used about 60% of the battery in that.
Jeez, yeah, that's crazy.
And I was running 50 watts. I didn't do the full 100 because because of our proximity and the bandpass filters and all that. We wanted to keep the power down a little bit. So
Yeah, and they do make these little power monitors that you can put in line with the battery. They have power poles on both ends, and it'll show you how much power you use in terms of amp hours or even watt hours, right? And
yeah,
I think West Mountain Radio sells them for like $40, or you can get the same ones on Amazon with some weird made up name for $20.
for $20. And I had one of
Right?
those on my battery, but I bumped it, so I lost.
Oh,
I lost
yeah.
everything. But
But yeah, so definitely for $20, if you want to see what you're using on your battery on the afternoon, get one of those. That's a
get
easy
one
way
of
to do it.
those, and then you get after you use one of those battery monitors for a few times, you kind of really do get an idea on what your consumption is, and you can feel a little bit more comfortable in using the battery to its, a smaller battery to its fullest potential, or how much of a larger battery you're actually using. And that's probably the best piece of advice I can give somebody is that once you know how much power you're actually using, then you can sort of budget yourself into a battery that will fit that need.
Yeah,
So
and get rid of the lead acid batteries. Just at this point in time, guys, like when we first did National Parks on the Air in 2016,
yes,
Michael and I went out with lead acid batteries, hauled those out into the field, just struggled, had to charge them, and we weren't getting much out of them at all. Like
it
these
only lasts.
lithium batteries are
Yeah.
just stupid, and you can get them on Amazon stupid cheap now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I bought this 50 amp hour one on Amazon, and I think it was under $150.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you can get not name brand, and it's some whatever you want to call them from China,
Yeah.
but they all use the same cells. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. But for a 30 amp hour battery, you're probably only paying $50.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and if you want to start doing parks on the air more than like once a year, that's the way to go.
There you go. Yeah. And they hold their charge almost in for a stupid long time. With a lead acid battery, you can only bring it down to about 50% capacity. The lithium iron phosphates, you could go down to 10%.
Yep.
And the battery monitor will usually cut you off to protect the battery. So and they're not that expensive. I think that EcoWorthy 20 amp hour that I use is definitely it's under $100. I think it's like 75.
Oh, you got your money out of that one.
Yeah,
you really got your money out of that one. $100 you can get a decent battery. At $50 you can get a decent battery for an afternoon.
Yep.
And they're so much more lighter.
Oh,
if you're hauling your rig out into the field, try it. It's a 3-to-1 weight difference.
Yep.
It's just stupid.
KB9VBR antennas are simple, effective, and affordable VHF and UHF antennas for amateur radio, MURS, public safety, and GMRS. Made in the USA with quality parts. Get yours online at jpole-antenna.com.